What I'm about to do is extremely awkward. I will attempt to explain how my favorite city in the entire world has taken its country hostage and is slowly but surely creating its demise. It is normal for a capital city to be the center of attention, especially in poorer, underdeveloped, or developing countries, as it naturally attracts most of the population and becomes the nation's hub. However, South Korea is a rich and developed country, yet Seoul continues to dominate disproportionately. It is, in my opinion, out of control, and I think the city is at the origin of all of the country's problem. But let's get some obvious things out of the way. After the Korean War ended, South Korea had to rebuild and develop rapidly. During a period that I would qualify as a military dictatorship, the country began its transformation. Seoul became the capital and everything started to be concentrated there. The government set up shops in schools and institutions to educate the population, and the economy was jump-started by giving privileges to certain individuals. This led to the rise of chaebol, those large family-owned conglomerates. These early factories and companies and economic activities all began in Seoul, cementing its status as the economic powerhouse of South Korea. With its frenetic and rapid development, Korea did not consider distributing things evenly. Today, Seoul is a magnet, draining the rest of the country of its economic resources and, dare I say, ambitious people. Seoul went from a single city to a huge megalopolis. You can easily spend an hour in the subway traveling from one end of the city to the next. And that's why on dating apps, people will state their preference for dating someone from the same district or somewhat closer to them. Whenever someone I am interested in lives the complete opposite of me or in a city near Seoul but commutes daily, I can already picture the foreseeable hassle. Anyway, Seoul's name reminds people of how different she is from the rest of the country. When you write your address in Korean, you have to put 𝗧𝗴𝘀𝗃𝗃𝗀, which literally translates to Seoul Special City. Yep, you've got to put respect on its name. You know you are the star when other cities, because they can't compete with you, literally want to be you. There are two airports in the vicinity of Seoul. One is in Incheon, which everyone knows, and a similar one, or smaller one I should say, is in 𝗃𝗀. Well, guess what? 𝗃𝗀 is actively seeking to become part of Seoul. When you can't beat them, join them, right? But when you look at the map and the cities between these two, tell me how this makes sense. Obviously, 𝗃𝗀 is trying to get all the benefits associated with the Seoul brand, more resources and jobs and companies and, appreciation of real estate, etc. If that merger happens, what would the signal be to other cities? What would that mean for the country? Are we gonna have like one city swallowing the entire country? Is it gonna be known as Seoul, the capital city of South Korea, or Seoul, the entire of South Korea? Before we get to that point, let's talk about the current situation or the current reality. The greater Seoul area, which includes Seoul, Incheon, and Gyeonggi province, covers about 12% of the country and is home to over 48.2% of the nation's population. You can see how disproportionate things are in terms of GDP and population. Seoul dominates everything. That is where everyone wants to be, and as a result, the other cities and provinces have a hard time developing themselves due to the lack of money, investment, opportunities, talents, etc. When it comes to economic development, South Korea, at least that's how I would describe it, could be described as a two-speed train. The greater Seoul area, including again Seoul, Incheon, and Gyeonggi province, represent the fast-moving part of the train, characterized by rapid economic growth, high population density, and significant infrastructure development. In contrast, the rest of the country moves at a slower pace, experiencing less economic dynamism and investment. This disparity highlights the uneven distribution of resources and opportunities, with the greater Seoul area driving much of the nation's economic activity, while the other regions lag behind. But we're not done. Let me go ahead and blame Seoul for all the problems this country is experiencing. Koreans don't randomly give birth to children. In this society, you have to be married first. Otherwise, you run the risk of bringing extreme shame to your family and being ostracized by society. If people aren't married, they're not having children. Then the question becomes, why aren't people getting married? Well, you can blame Seoul. Reports indicate that finance are the biggest hurdle to marriage among South Koreans. A December report by Statistics Korea showed that 33.7% of the respondents picked not having sufficient fund as the reason for not getting married. As I mentioned, roughly half of the population lives in the greater Seoul area, where high housing prices have become a significant barrier for young people. The cost of real estate in Seoul is among the highest in the world, making it difficult for young adults to afford home. This financial strain delays life milestones such as marriage and starting a family. Many young South Koreans prioritize securing stable employment first and saving for housing over getting married and having children. This trend obviously contributes to the country's declining birth rate and changing social dynamics. Housing prices are high because demand exceeds supply. Seoul's dynamic economy attracts people looking for a better future, but the city cannot provide affordable housing. They've been trying for years, but the situation keeps getting worse and worse. The government is well aware of the negative impact that Seoul's dominance has on South Korea, including the concentration of political and economic power within the capital. As a result, the city of Sejong, officially known as Sejong Special Autonomous City, was established in 2007 as part of South Korea's effort to decentralize government functions and reduce congestion in Seoul. The government began relocating various branches to Sejong in 2012. This year, the president's party, aka PPP, the People Power Party, announced plans to move the National Assembly to Sejong to spread the political power now centered in Seoul. The government has been gearing up for this move, I think, since 2021, and they've set aside a big plot of land in Sejong in 2022. Construction is expected to wrap up in 2031. They believe this move will fix administrative inefficiencies, spur development across the country, and turn Sejong into a major political and administrative hub. Now, the concern is whether this would become another gravitational center swallowing up its periphery as Seoul. If the Blue House and the National Assembly are relocated to Sejong, it will become a predator, a black hole, setting the surrounding region on a path to collapse and extension. That's not me saying that, okay? It came from the previous mayor of Seoul, and we can agree he knows a thing or two about predators, black holes swallowing their surrounding regions. One of the sad or funny things is that despite the creation of Sejong and the provision of new housings for government employees, many still choose to commute from Seoul daily. This highlights ongoing challenges in fully decentralizing administrative functions and many employees' strong attachment to living in the capital. Factors such as family consideration, social ties, and the quality of education and amenities in Seoul contribute to this commuting trend. You can take people out of Seoul, but you cannot take Seoul out of them. I've been living in Korea for almost 4 years. The first time I heard the term weekend couple, I was confused. The weekend couple culture in Korea refers to married couples who live apart during the weekdays due to work commitments and only reunites on weekends. This lifestyle has become a more common thing with the rise of long commute and relocation of workplace to different cities. The man works in a different city and the wife and kids stay in Seoul. Why? Because Seoul, of course, you guessed it, has the best middle school, high schools, universities, and private institutions in the country. Many parents believe they have to live in Seoul to guarantee a future for their children. In Korea, upward mobility can be significantly influenced by job titles. Securing a prestigious job title, especially in a well-known company or organization, can enhance your social status and open doors to better opportunities. This is particularly true in fields like, finance, law, medicine, and large conglomerates, aka chaebol. In Korea, status is important and competition is fierce. Your alma mater can be the key to your success in life, so kids are pressured to study hard to enter the best universities and programs in Seoul. You might study and decide to stay in your province, but the lack of job opportunities will make you consider Seoul. Graduating from a university outside Seoul can reduce your chances of landing a great job in Seoul. You will most likely be looked down upon. With the fierce competition, you might not even get the job of your choosing. To avoid that, many students move to Seoul for their studies. They either stay with relatives or live independently. The best hagwons are also in Seoul, attracting students from all over the country. As a consequence, universities outside Seoul often struggle, leading them to either significantly reduce their offering or rely on foreign students to stay afloat. Thanks to K-pop and K-drama, Hallyu, also known as the Korean wave, has granted South Korea a tremendous soft power. People are interested in the country, and guess what reaps all the benefits? Seoul, of course. More often than not, this is the only city people visit. I work at a marketing agency. Yes, we work with brands, but most of our business is actually helping government agencies and entities promote Seoul to foreigners. The amount of care, money, and brainstorming that goes into promoting Seoul to foreign tourists is quite impressive. And it works. Seoul can afford to pour energy and resources into making the city super attractive with events and festivals and services and facilities for foreign tourists to enjoy and for city residents at large. Seoul can afford that thanks to the money it's earning from various taxes and tourism revenue. Other cities and provinces struggle. They have to resort to what I would call subsidized tourism. Basically, they partner with travel agencies and offer one-day or week-long trips to their cities or provinces to foreigners. The foreign tourist or foreign resident pays a ridiculous low amount of money for the trip and gets to have a good time. The provinces get tourists to visit the region, spend money, and share awareness on social media. So it's a win-win situation, but that shows how the rest of the country struggles to gather attention. That Hallyu wave is barely benefiting them. You might ask, well, Leila, what about Busan? Known as the second biggest city in South Korea. Well, I've been to Busan twice. I love how low-key and chill the city is. There's something about the smell of the sea that soothes me. Busan's economy is robust and vital to South Korea, but way less powerful than Seoul's. Seoul is the country's economic powerhouse, housing the headquarters of major corporations and financial institutions and government bodies. In 2022, Seoul's GDP was significantly higher than Busan's. Seoul generated about 23% of South Korea's total GDP, 388 billion. In contrast, Busan GDP was 83.2 billion, and I'm talking in dollars. I became aware of the drastic difference between those two. When I started meeting people from Busan, everyone told me that Seoul's dynamic scale and diversity do not match Busan's. Busan is a major port city with a strong shipping, logistic, and manufacturing economy. If you work for that, fine. If you don't and you want to thrive in a different field, you don't have any option. Hence, people moving to Seoul for more diversity and opportunities and upward mobility. Let's talk about another city, Jeonju. I visited the city this year with a friend. It was one of my favorite trips inside Korea. The food was divine, especially the hanjeonshik, known as Korean tableau. Amazing. Now, Jeonju is not a random city, okay? It is known not only for its Hanok Heritage Village, but also as the North Jeollado Province capital city. And guess what the entire North Jeollado Province GDP was in 2022? $27.25 billion, a third of what Busan made and 14 times less than what Seoul generate. The sad part was watching the struggle around me. We stayed in the Hanok village but ventured outside for dinner and for lunch. And there was this feeling of suspended time. We went to this famous restaurant in the city center. Around it, many closed, abandoned stores. There were a few cars on the road and few people out and about. Some might prefer the slower pace of life, but if I were a young person trying to make it, I would leave a place like this for a better life with more opportunities in Seoul. And I suspect this is what has been happening for decades. Spending time in Jeonju made me realize that as a foreigner in Korea, I cannot picture living my life outside of Seoul. Besides the economic opportunities, Seoul offers its residents a wide range of activities and entertainment, from cultural events to various leisure facilities. A common complaint from people who live in Seoul but aren't originally from there is that their hometown, or their home cities, I should say, lack exciting activities and events and leisure option. As a resident of Seoul, I can attest to the city's vibrant atmosphere. Following Seoul City on Instagram reveals a plethora of cool and fun events happening constantly in the city. There's never a dull moment in Seoul. But sadly, the same level of enthusiasm and activity is not prevalent in other cities. Like the housing and the low birth crisis, the government is aware, of the need to transition towards a multipolar system rather than a unipolar system focused solely on the greater Seoul area. Decentralization is necessary, but I will let the people in charge figure out, since I am not an expert. This topic has been on my mind for a while, and I am so glad I am finally making this video. Seoul is my favorite city in the entire world. And it is a bit sad to see how it cannibalizes the very country it is part of. Let me know in the comment section what you think of all of this. Thank you so much for watching. Take very good care of yourselves, and you will see me in the next video. Bye.